What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is my third and final video on how to maximize your money while you're out here on the road. And in this video, we're going to be discussing how to manage your clock right after this. So clock management to me is the hardest of the three to master. And when I say the three, I mean the three videos that I made: time management and trip planning. If you haven't seen those videos yet, go ahead and check them out. I'll put them up there on the top right there for you. But we're going to be discussing clock management today. I think it takes a long time to master. That's where your experience comes in. Lord knows I'm nowhere close. But I'm going to give you guys 5 tips on what I've discovered along my way of working out here for about a year. So, tip number 1, busy cities. Now, if you know you're going to be running into a busy city, let's say Atlanta or Washington, D.C. or Chicago, any one of those cities, and let's say you did your trip planning and there's no way around it, you know, the best way for you to go is straight through these cities. Let's use Atlanta as an example. Well, I happen to know, because I live in Florida, that, say I'm coming from the north side of Atlanta and I'm going to be going straight through, going around the belt, and then hitting 75. I happen to know that there's a rest area right before I get into Atlanta, not too far from the city there. So if I have enough time, I will stop at the rest area. Let's say you're timed to run through Atlanta around rush hour traffic, okay, for the example here. So what I would do is I would stop prior to me getting in Atlanta at a rest area, and I would take at least a 3-hour break. You got to do a minimum of 2, but I would probably break in that situation if it's at 5 o'clock. I would probably break until about 8:30, anywhere from 8 to 9, and then I would start my clock back up. What that does is it pauses your clock. You basically are pausing your 14, and then you can start running again. So those 3 or 2 hours or 4 hours, however long you sat there at that rest area, you're going to get all those hours back. And then you could run through Atlanta, and you'll find that it's less congested. And, the last thing you want to be doing is sitting in traffic, burning out your clock, your on-duty time, and then ruining your whole day. I've sat in numerous cities. I sat in Chicago, for instance, for 3.5 hours, bumper-to-bumper traffic, just watching my clock go down. So that's something to keep in mind when you're running through these big cities. Tip number 2, load securement and tarping. Now, when it comes to your clock with that, and this obviously pertains to flatbedders, but when it comes to your clock with that, use your best judgment. Now, I say that with quotes. That's about all I'm going to say to you guys, but, you got it. Use your best judgment on the time that it takes you to secure a tarp. Obviously, the more experienced people will do it in less time. The less experienced people will do it in longer time. So, log what you feel is an appropriate time for securement and tarping. I will tell you this: you don't want to be caught with DOT logging 20 minutes for your load securement and tarping, depending on the load, obviously, but you don't want to be caught like that every day. Let's say you do load securement and tarping 3 times in the week, and every single time you've logged 20 minutes. They're going to look at that and say, oh, that's funny. It took you exactly 20 minutes every single time, So just use common sense when it comes to your load securement and tarping. But if you do it right, you could save yourself a ton of time on your clock, which adds up to a ton of time that you're actually able to run throughout the rest of the week. Tip number 3, run your clock with next week in mind. So what I mean by that is, I've been stuck in situations like this a lot. I'm tired. I got plenty of time, or I'm right around the corner, and, blah, 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 blah. As a truck driver, we can make tons of excuses. I've been in situations where, okay, I can run today only 4 hours and shut down, right? But what happens is if I run 4 hours today, let's say it's Wednesday, and then I roll into next week on I'm doing recaps. Well, next Wednesday, guess how many hours I'm going to be getting back for that day to run? 4 hours. So my biggest advice with that is always think about next week. Always have that in mind when you're trying to manage your clock for the week you're working on. Okay? You don't want to be caught with a bunch of days next week when you're pulling recaps with 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, because you're not going to get any miles. Low miles equals no money. Right, guys? Tip number 4, keep it around 9 hours a day. So if you multiply 9 times 8, you get about 72 hours. Okay? We got to run 70 hours. You want to run your 70 hours before you get your recaps back. Okay, which is every 8 days. So if you start your clock on Monday, next Tuesday is when you're going to get your recaps back. So if you run out of your 70 before Tuesday, well, guess what, guys? You're going to be sitting at a place you probably don't want to be sitting at. You know, some grungy truck stop in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do around doing a 34. Trust me, I've done it many times, and I'm sure I'll do it plenty more times in the future. When it comes to managing your clock, you know, and trying to keep it under your 70, but also deliver the loads, you know, what the problem is the factors lay with the shippers and receivers. Sometimes they'll hold you up. Sometimes they'll cancel their loads, and you'll be forced to only run 3 hours that day. Because what if I was planning to run 3 hours, drop my load off, get loaded up, and keep rolling? Well, let's say I ran those 3 hours, I dropped the load off, but now they don't have a load for me, or they gave me a load and then they ended up canceling, and I've only ran 3-4 hours that day. So, you know, that's where the wrench comes in. You'll get that a lot, where it just throws wrenches through your hours and your time, and you got to try to make it up. Okay? So basically, you know, if you're trying to keep it at about 9 hours a day, if I ended up having to run hard one day, say, oh, that's a nice truck. Say I ran 11 hours one day, right? Well, then if I know that I could probably run 7 hours another day, you know, if I wanted to take an easy day, because I'm keeping it around the 9. You see what I'm saying? So just try to keep your hours around 9 hours a day, and you should be good. About 8 3/4 is the sweet spot, but and that includes your on-duty time as well as your drive time. Anytime you're working, you want it, so you add those up, that should be around 9 hours every day. And my final tip for you guys, and this is debatable, I guess. I've heard, you know, people say one way or the other, but to me, my opinion, and this is my opinion, recaps make you money. You're not going to be making any money by doing a 34 every week. You know, if you know how to manage your clock, you should be running on recaps every week. Now, if you need to take a 34 to do because you just need a break, that's one thing. But if you're trying to make money out here, you don't want to be doing a 34 every week. You want to be running your recaps, which is why you want to learn how to manage your clock, which is why you need to learn how to trip plan, which is why you need to also have good time management. So I hope these videos helped you guys out. I look forward to some future videos with you guys. If you guys have any suggestions that you want me to make, leave it down in the comments. I'll be happy to make a video for you. With that, I'm out.